new ways for artists to get paid. So with NFTs and stuff and Web3 and all that jazz
We're
and the
talking about
blockchain
NFTs,
and
gentlemen. Two guys talking about
which
non-fungible tokens on the internet.
so we really were early talking about NFTs because the biggest thing about NFTs before they became before it was all just crypto heads using it to make their crypto schemes and pump and dump schemes and all these other things. It was an interesting idea for artists to try to generate more revenue and artists to share different art and whatnot with fans and different projects and stuff with fans so that way they can generate 100% revenue from that. Within that now, you have now a whole market of people just abusing NFTs and abusing these things for it to now where it ruins it for artists. For genuine people who, used it as an actual art form and art platform and stuff to way to make more revenue and for way to reach out to their fans and reach out to their community. Now with that, that's like the crypto community and whatnot kind of shot that in the foot for a lot of artists, and now they don't have that path that they had originally when NFTs were really first starting. This is like a year ago, year and a half ago before it blew up, and we did talk about all of that too. With that, now artists now the way that they're getting more revenue and whatnot is from places like SoundCloud, places like Bandcamp that are going out and sharing, hey, like we're gonna give you guys more revenue, like we're gonna give you more sharing, and they're being very transparent with that. SoundCloud has their program to, which they've done the past couple of years, to help up and coming musicians, help up and coming artists to then fund them to then get up to it. So you have artists and whatnot now having to resort to alternate different ways to generate revenue, alternate streaming platforms, and other ways to get that revenue in. And now a big thing too is because more and more live concerts are coming back, because more and more live music is coming back, that's going to be a big revenue boost for a ton of artists. They struggle, so many artists and bands, groups have struggled throughout the pandemic and whatnot, and now with more restrictions being lifted up, more shows being up, more festivals being up and played, and shows and stuff selling out and people going to said shows, they're going to now generate a lot more revenue. And within that, then they're going to be able to afford that studio time, be able to afford to make more music and make new things as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year, especially with the space of NFTs and the space of live music and everything, to see how artists get that and to get that monetary value into them. And the last thing I'll say on it is, obviously we literally just talked about it because of album and mixtape, more artists, and this is going to be a theme that's going to be around for the foreseeable future until streaming platforms change the way that they pay artists. More artists are going to pump out like a lot of music, but a lot of short songs, a lot of albums that have 16 songs, but they're only like 35 minutes because a lot of those songs are 2 minutes or even under 2 minutes. Because the more streams they get, the more plays they get in that way, the more revenue they generate. So you're going to see that more and more because it's going to be the easiest way for them to generate revenue. And within that, you can get this wash effect to where not many people are making quality music because of the way that they have to generate revenue, have to make a living. So I hope that streaming platforms change the way that they pay artists. I've been hoping this for years. I don't see it happening except for your Bandcamps, your SoundClouds of the world that actually do and actually really care about artists in a way, compared to your Spotify's, your Apple Music that really didn't give two shits about artists. All they care about is making money and their bottom line at the end of the day, because they're like Boeing and McDonnell Douglas merger that happened and destroyed the company, but more on that later. That's a PowerPoint episode one day. And within that, Dan's laughing. You're going to be interesting to see how artists get paid within that. And I hope those streaming platforms change so that way they can go back to making longer tracks, a little bit longer records, and space those records out more so they have more time, more production time, more production value to actually make good records instead of these half-assed, half-made things just to generate revenue because they have to at the end of the day to make a living.
Yeah, so many points there I agree with or like take slight tangents with. The main thing is, you know what, I'm going to do it. Let's talk about capitalism. So the main The reason that like the NFT craze happened with artists is because art is both lowest and highest on the totem pole. Like rich people love it and feel some like feeling, and they feel like they can show their culture to other people with art. Simultaneously, artists are some of the lowest paid and lowest respected people in society. And so what you do is like what a lot of people do, from like sex workers down to marketing managers, is you just like run on the rich people. Like you just like loot the rich people basically. And you want to ultimately have this space where artists can make the amount of money that they should like be owed, whether it's like, okay, we make that an amount that's based on how many people view your work or how much like value that has. I think that's hard to really like suss out in a numerical fashion, as so many like hard capitalism lovers seem to want to do. But like, okay, whatever. The NFT craze was like many crazes before it and after it, um something that a lot of people were able to jump in on and look at as a speculative or you know, a speculative or a an asset that they can use as a hedge against other economic factors that scare them, whether it's, you know, the dollar or inflation or things that are happening with wars and geopolitical crises and etc., right? So it it seemed to be serving a benefit for rich people to be able to like store their money in something that had value. They were told is like new and cutting edge that had value, and a benefit for artists because they were making money and they're like, listen, I don't care what the rich people believe. I just want to get paid for my shit. And then, of course, a benefit for the people who are skimming off the transactions here or there and continuing to sell people on this scam economy. More on this in Power Report and future episodes, right? But how it gets down to music, because, of course, I decided to jump into the heady thing, is a lot of what Sean was just saying. Artists are still, unfortunately, going to have a hard time getting paid because they are at the mercy of streaming platforms. And that's unfortunate. And we need to, as music lovers, support groups like the Union of Musicians and Allied Workers. We need to support and uplift artists and different platforms that are trying to think of better ways and smarter ways of paying people. And we've got to think beyond, okay, what are the quick, fast, get rich quick schemes? Like, what is making rich people richer? Like these artists and these DJs who are already touring around putting .eth in their Twitter handles, who have already made millions from streaming and touring. What are they benefiting from it versus what is the average artist who is trying to get in there and grow doing? Because we do this podcast in a kind of secret saucy way, the way we produce it, in like highlighting new music that people may have heard of the artist before, but also highlighting new music that is on the cusp of breaking out. That's something we can do because we're humans and we're not an algorithm. We're trying to like help people like get a wide, broad view of what new music is. And sometimes that's stuff from artists you've heard before. And a lot of times that's stuff from artists who are just breaking off on the cusp. And that's why we have our high standards. And that's why we do the podcast. But that whole system is not going to work if musicians and artists can't feel they're compensated or they're incentivized to get into the game. Because otherwise, you're just going to have what you have in the rest of our economy, which are remakes of sequels and continuations of products that, oops, all berries, Captain Crunch. Like, there's no new ideas for anything. It's just like remakes of old stuff because there's charts that shows that it does well. And there's no incentive to try anything outside of the box. That sort of gray, brutalist, capitalist thinking comes down to music, I think. And it's going to take a smarter system in order to fight that. That accidentally became a Power Report rant, but I think that will hold up.
It really did. I like it. State of the music industry, 2022.
Yeah. I think overall, I think the state of the music industry could be stronger. but it's pretty good. The world is
But
going to
it
be
could
very
be a lot
interesting.
worse. But with the return of live music, it's going to be interesting. I really looking forward to talking to more and more people about it as well
And,
too.
and, and, COVID, and
So
COVID is still a thing. People really want live music to happen because there's a huge financial incentive for that. But
naturally,
hopefully people are still able to stay safe and stay protected. And people who are more vulnerable to COVID-19 and other conditions like this, society doesn't forget about these people as well, because that's a lot of
yeah,
what's going on. These are, again, things that are motivated by money, not necessarily quality for what's good of people or what's good of, art. But that's why
yeah.
you have shows like us and Audioface and definitely not Pitchfork, but like other shows out there, and we'll shout out, like, in a rare time we'll give a tip of the hat to some of our nameless other, like, media outlets and critics out there who also do a good job of keeping artists accountable, more or less. We often have our disagreements with individual album reviews, but it's good that you have this ecosystem of non-algorithms who are connected to music fans, who are talking about what's good in music, what's bad in music, what needs to be better, what could be worse. And we hope to continue that on this podcast, on this YouTube channel, on wherever you are consuming us. So continue to do that. YouTube.com/audiofacepod, Twitter.com/audiofacepod, Instagram.com/audiofacepod. Reach out to us there, interact with us there. Every single little bit of any of that helps grow the show and get more people to get all this awesome message and all this music knowledge. And to help us even more financially and to get us to grow in even other different ways for all of my fun, evil plans. Join.syndicate23.co for Syndicate 23 membership. It helps us, like I said, grow the show, and we also reward you by giving you extra special benefits, including bonus episodes like this State of Music episode that come early and premiere for y'all. So thank you very much for doing all those things. Also, like, have notes in the announcements portion of the members platform for other different members perks that should be coming down the pipeline soon. And yeah, this has been Audioface. We'll be back next week with more music. I have been, and still am, Dan from the web on Twitter, Dan from the internet on Instagram, Dan from the web on Twitch, and Dan from the internet on TikTok. Sean is SW Suarez on Twitter and Instagram, and it's staying that way. And like we said, we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Bye.